What is going on? This is Outrunner, and today we have essentially the finished Flerken. And this paint job, posted some pictures on, and you saw the paint job with the graphics in the last video. And today I actually wanted to share with you how I did this. And it was kind of interesting, and it was almost by accident. And I'm surprised myself at just how good this actually turned out, and how it just looks fantastic to me. And again, so many people have made comments on it, and I'm just blown away. So it's not because I'm a professional. This was actually an accident. So let's talk about this for a little bit. So first of all, I did spray paint the body, and you did see a couple of the videos in the past. In the previous video, you saw a couple of pictures of it spray painted before the motors were mounted and all of that. So essentially what I did is I actually used, and this is not the same paint, but I actually ran out. There was some older paint I had around, but it is primer. So this gray on here. So first of all, I did sand it. I have some sanding sponges that I use just to sand a couple of different things with, and I took a sponge to the top of this and to the foam board and sponged the whole thing off top and bottom, and even the sides and all that kind of stuff to roughen up the surface so it would sort of the paint would adhere to it. And then the brand of paint that I used is a Walmart brand of paint, but it was just primer, gray primer, and I knew I had some. I didn't want to paint the Flerken black, and I didn't want to paint it black because black in on warmer days is really going to absorb heat, and I just didn't want, and I probably won't paint any of my planes black for that reason, because this is just foam. And it's using hot glue to hold it together, and I would not want, I don't think anybody's ever had a problem with that, but I don't want to be the first to have a problem with the heat actually softening up the glue and causing some issues with it. So I choose lighter colors for the most part. As you know, my wing back there, the whole top is white, but I'm actually using white masking tape on that wing, and then the bottom is actually black. Or orange. I use orange masking tape, which I have some here, and I'll show that to you in a second. But this guy, I wanted to keep it light colors. So I wanted to use gray. I'd already thought I was going to use a gray, but I was kind of debating on whether I was going to paint the entire aircraft gray and then do some accents to it, or if I was going to do it in pieces. And that was a little bit interesting because I knew I also wanted to put my graphics on, and my experience in the past is if you try to paint or you try to tape off to mask anything, you have problems with the paint lifting up off the surface. And so even trying to put like striping and stuff like I did on my FT Tudor, I had to leave a portion of the plain white and then tape that area off so that when I removed the tape, it would not remove paint. And so even with there's a couple of spots on there that the paint actually, some tape got to it and the paint actually peeled off of as well. So that's the challenge that I was facing. So what I did was I basically just took took the primer, and I primed, first of all, the entire bottom of the plane. So the entire bottom of the plane is flat gray. There's no real graphics other than the fact that I ran the stripe across the bottom as well. Everything is gray. So I primed the entire bottom of the plane gray one day and basically let it sit overnight and let everything cure. So I left it outside so it could kind of dry, so it wouldn't be fumes in the house. And then I brought this guy back in, set him on the table upside down, and let it kind of cure for basically 24 hours. And I went back out and I sprayed it again on the bottom. But you do notice I do have some scrape marks from where just handling it, I actually scratched it a little bit of the paint coming off there. But at this point, it's on there pretty well, and it shouldn't scratch off, but that was pretty fresh. And since I ran out of that particular paint, I didn't want to go and start spraying some different color primer on it and cause a mess that I couldn't clean up. So I just kind of left it the way it was. Later on, I may go back and do some touch up in some way for those different areas. But I was really trying to figure out exactly how I was going to paint this guy. And if you look at the, after painting the bottom, I said, well, maybe I'll go around the plane, around the edges with the paint. So I started doing around the front edge of the wing on both sides. And then, I was like, maybe I need to do something else. And then I did, straight across this edge in the front on both sides. And I was like, and then I was like, okay, well, I spray painted this section. I spray painted the back and and then I went to the back and spray painted on this in the tips of the wings. And then I went ahead and spray painted the entire, surface back here. And spray painted the entire thing. And I was like, okay, all right. And left the center white, the center top of the wings white. That way I didn't have to mask off my push rods and all of that, and even though they still got paint on them. But I was like, okay, I'm going to leave it at that. But I had a couple of spots where there's I sprayed just a tad bit too much. And I try to do extremely light coats where I'm starting and finishing off the plane, so I'm not splattering or anything like that. So I did all of that and trimmed the whole thing out. And again, you see the picture of what it looks like without the graphics and without this additional design on the top that makes it, I don't know what, it makes it look worn. So went to sleep one night and I've been looking at the plane, just looking at it, sitting back there on the table, just looking at it, going, man, it's just missing something. It's missing something. What in the world can I do? I knew I was going to do windows in the front, and I had an idea that I was going to use some vinyl. So I have vinyl for my Cricut that I was actually going to try to measure everything out and have the Cricut cut the vinyl for the windows. I actually did the window cutting by hand. I measured it. I used my ruler, measured the back end, got the measurement from here to here, cut strips. The center piece was the easiest one because it's the same, and then cut another strip the same width as the back end, and then started creating the angles. And once I created the first angle, and then I created the other cut, which is this portion off here, off this side, I cut that part off. And then I laid this down by hand using just a razor blade. And I just peeled it off and started from the back here, made sure I had a straight line, and then just smooth it out. And I did the same thing for all of these, even though this line is a little bit thinner than that side. And then I did the same thing for the back. When I cut the back, this is basically a straight line, but because of the glue, it didn't turn out straight. So I had to actually trim this at an angle just a little bit so that these would fit. And then I was trying to figure out what to do around here. I decided to just shorten it and then cut some wedges there. So I have windows going all the way across. And I basically took the entire nose off in order to apply the vinyl to the nose. And that's what I did. I've been thinking about making this portion of the nose completely black, but I haven't done that yet. And we'll see, because I'm not going to spray paint it because I'm not taping anything at this point. So we'll see if I'm going to leave it this way, because I'm probably going to put Velcro on the bottom just so I can attach my Insta360 Go 2. And that way I can have some video from the front as it's flying. I may decide to put another Insta360 Go 2 in the back underneath. So I may put some Velcro underneath the stabilizer here in the back, and horizontal stabilizer, so I can get some video from the back as it's flying. So I'll be playing around with that, and I already had my logos cut. So this was a test sheet when I bought my Cricut, and I went through and started printing my logos. I've got my Altone Tech in there as well from my other channel, as well as a few of my other logos. And then I went ahead and printed and prepared a couple of these. So I actually just cut one of these off by hand that says a Creative Altone. I've been meaning to put an @ symbol there, but I didn't do that yet. And then I by hand very gently, and I didn't do I didn't push it, you know, flat down on here, but I very gently laid it on top, and then basically by hand using a razor blade, got pushed off each one of these letters individually. I was trying to figure out how to do that, because if I'd have laid it flat, and there's a spot right there where it lifted the paint. So if I'd have laid it flat. But before I did any of that, the texture I put on. So I meant to mention that. So that texture, these little blotches and stuff, I was watching a couple of YouTube videos because I'm getting ready to do a speed challenge on Altone Tech, my Altone Tech channel, with Poor Boy RC. They're doing a speed challenge, and I was trying to figure out how to quickly and easily paint a Lexan car body, so that I could make it look decent. But I'm not trying to do a whole lot of work to the body, because I'm gonna have to build the car, and I'm actually going to run the car, and doing speed runs, the body gets damaged. So eventually I may change the body out. But I also have a radio link that's going to be sending me a radio and ESC and whatnot for that speed challenge, which is awesome. And so I'll be trying to put their logo on the car, as well as putting my logos on the car, of course, as well as some other things. So I don't have time to be trying to really make this really pretty. I just want it to be functional and look decent. So I was watching videos on how this guy had done this bowling ball style marble paint job on his Lexan body, and he was showing how he got that texture on the body. And I was like, so essentially all he did was, I put in what I did, put a rubber glove on, wrapped it, or he just used some styrofoam, not styrofoam, some saran wrap. So I wrapped my hand with saran wrap, sprayed the black paint on the saran wrap, and dabbed it all over the top of this plane. And that's where that texture is coming from. And what it makes it look like it's worn, it's got some, you know, and I actually, the front of this, the way the windows look, to me, they actually look like a Star Wars aircraft front end. That's what it looks like to me, like a TIE fighter or something. That's what that reminds me of. But at any rate, that's what I did. I just went, sprayed that saran wrap and dabbed it all over this body. And then I took the black. And if you look in the back here, the back is blackened out, like exhaust has been coming out of here. That's because I went and I sprayed the back end of this and the back end of this area with that same black paint, and then did really super light spray of black on both sides of the back end of this wing, of the wing. And that was it. So after doing that and I brought it back in, I was like, oh man, that's pretty good. And then I looked up at my Wright Flyer 40T, and on the right wing of the bottom of the right wing of the Wright Flyer 40T, there's a red stripe. And then I checked for the navigation lights on an aircraft and on your, left wing. Your left wing navigation light is red, your right wing navigation light is green. And I said, well, I'm going to put a red stripe on the side, because as it's flying, that'll give me another place of reference as to which direction or how the plane is actually oriented when I'm flying it. And so I went ahead and took some packing tape that is slightly transparent. This is the same packing tape I used on my wing. I used white on the top and orange on the bottom. And this is the orange that I used on my wing. And I took this packing tape and put this red stripe right down the wing, and by it being transparent, it just looks awesome. And then it wraps around to the underside as well. And all I did was I laid it down, made sure it was nice and straight, and I trimmed this. I'm going to have to go in and make sure that this is down really good so it doesn't peel up. But I trimmed this and placed it down on the wing, and that's how I got the red stripe on the wing. So, even painting the wheels, you notice the wheels don't have paint on them. That's because I taped the wheel itself, but I painted around the wheel mounts. I went ahead and painted each side of that when I was painting the bottom of the plane, so that it would look nice. Now the other thing is the motor mounts are actually painted black, and I painted those motor mounts. I taped up the motor without the prop on it, and painted the motor mounts without the SC and all of that installed. I painted them black with the same black primer paint, and that's it. That's how I got this paint job, and that's what I wanted to share with you. One other piece that I will share with you as well. One thing that I did here, where my ESC is sitting, it's a 30 amp ESC. So what I did was I used a Dremel tool, and where this motor mount is glued up, I actually widened the back side of the opening, so that when I sat the ESC down in there, it would actually sit all the way down, because this is a 30 amp ESC, and I'm pretty sure for the kit that FliteTest uses, they actually use a 20 amp ESC, which is a little bit smaller, so it fits that hole very well. So if you're using a larger ESC, just use a Dremel tool with a round sander on it, and you can sand the back end of that wood out perfectly so that your ESC will sit there, but it's still sitting on the top on both sides, so it can get some air. So I just wanted to share that with you today, because this has been an awesome experience building this plane. I'm really looking forward to getting out and flying it. I did want to share another tip with you that somebody from FliteTest that saw my plane actually shared. And that is the wing is where it joins here. There's a little dihedral, but the wing spar should be reinforced, because it does flex a little bit, and if it continues to flex too much, you might end up with your prop striking the front of the nose, and you really don't want that. So I can't figure out how to fix that or how to reinforce this wing without doing some surgery to the bottom of the plane. Depending on how the first couple of flights go, and again, your dihedral starts right in this section. So to put something in here would be a little interesting. I've been trying to think of a way I could run like a flat, like popsicle stick or something through here and glue to the back end and try to do it that way. I haven't come up with a solution for that yet, but and reinforce it. But of course, that could also throw your balance off just a little bit. I do have my center of gravity marked on here on both sides, so I can make sure that I'm balanced correctly when I get ready to take it out for the maiden flight. But that's one of the things that I'm going to be looking at. I'm gonna fly it the way it is, but I'm most likely, if you're watching this now, FliteTest actually has a deal on the kit itself. Currently, it's about 19% off, so you might want to check that out if the deal is still available. But I'm really thinking that I'm possibly going to end up ordering another kit, and I may do that within the next couple of months. And I'm not going to put it together. I'm just going to leave it in the box. I'll go through, inspect the parts, make sure everything is good, and I'll probably leave it in the box. So if I do destroy this body at some point, or the wings, if the weakness of the wings causes the wings to buckle or something like that in the future, I've already got another body. I've already built it. I'm just going to go ahead and build another one. Who knows? I may decide to order two, and that way I can just keep building them, because this is an awesome platform. It's a beautiful plane. I love the size, and I'm really looking forward to getting out and flying it. So hopefully the next video, or the next couple of videos that you see very soon, will be a flight of this guy. I've got a ton of stuff that I'm trying to churn videos out for and share some information with you, and so hopefully you'll see that very, very soon. So thanks for stopping by and checking this out with me. I really appreciate you. If you are liking what you're seeing, please hit like, hit subscribe, help me to get monetized on this channel so I can afford to do even more different projects and whatnot in the future. So thank you again. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video.